You can get your Figmas at Big Bad Toy Store at the link in the description down below. Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Kaiju, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It's Steven here, and today I'm bringing you another Nintendo Figma review. This time, it is going to be of the first Fire Emblem Figma that Good Smile Company and Max Factory collaborated on to get onto the market, and that is going to be the Figma Lucina, or not Marth. So this is going to be the best girl for many, and she comes from one of the most popular Fire Emblem games. If many of you didn't know, yes, even though Awakening may or may not be your personal favorite, it did prevent the franchise from going the way of F-Zero. But that being said, is this Figma any good? Well, maybe it has a couple of issues, or maybe it's perfect. Let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Usually in the production process, there's going to be some serious lack of detail when transferring over from the prototype to the final product. Thankfully here, for the default look of Lucina, we really don't have to worry too much about that. Again, for the default look, we're not talking about accessories. Now, on this particular figure, we do have a nice gold trim around plenty of parts, whether it's going to be on her shoulders or it's going to be on the various emblems that she has. There's a lot of smaller markings found here or there, like let's say on her sleeves. She also does have fingerless gloves. There's the headband. There is the fact that the hair is sculpted in a different type of plastic. She does have her cape. Overall, the sculpted details on Lucina are great, and the paint application is almost as awesome as well. One thing I think the Figma line really excels in for some characters is really making the cloth, or the plastic look like cloth. Anyway, the clothing looks relatively real, and that is a very difficult thing to execute, where you do have some other companies, I'm looking at you, Tamashii Nations, that even though they have characters like, let's say, Goku, the figure still looks like plastic. Here, if you were to touch it, you may just be surprised it's made out of plastic, or a soft rubber material. Yeah. Anyway, we do have some floating parts like the different belts and whatnot that are running across her torso, and she does have very high-thighed boots. So overall, whether or not you're looking to get a very nice-looking Figma, or if you enjoy the character, I do have to say, she's going to look nice on your shelf. Oh, and by the way, she does have two different eyes. Yep. The symbol is there. All right, time to talk about articulation. Unfortunately, she is not going to have plenty of points of articulation to win her any awards. However, you're going to be able to pose her just fine. What do we have? Well, the head, first and foremost, is on a joint system, where the head is actually going to be on a ball joint, so this way we can rock her head around in a few different directions. The neck joint is going to be plugged into the body on a swivel, and then there's also going to be a hinge, so this way we can get some nice movement out of the head, get her to look in a whole bunch of different ways, so that is great to see there. Unfortunately, there's going to actually be no neck into the body articulation like you'll see on some figure arts, namely some Dragon Ball figure arts, so that's a bit disappointing, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the shoulders here, which actually are pretty, well, rather disappointing. You see, if you have, like, let's say the Zero Suit Samus, you're going to have something like a pop-out joint there, and you can push it back in, but that's not going to be the case here. We just have a straight ball joint for the shoulder where it plugs in, a hinge to raise it up, but we do have these guards here, which unfortunately do block the articulation a little bit, but with some creativity, we can get around that, which, by the way, kind of looks like we get a little bit of a swivelly swavel here. Just not too much. Don't force it around. You might break it, and you don't want to do that. We do obviously have a hinge at the elbow, which also is a Figma style joint, so it is going to have two different posts there, so this way we can spin either portion around where it plugs into the bicep or the forearm, so we get a little bit of swivel movement there, but then we do also get some swivel movement down here at the cuffs, so that's good. And then obviously we are going to have the 2.0 style Figma wrist joints, which are going to be similar to figure arts. So the wrist is going to be on a hinge and a swivel, and then the hands plug in on a peg, so they have a swivel as well, so that's nice. Now for the main body, the torso, we're only really gonna have a very loosey-goosey waist joint. It does seem like there is going to be another joint here for an ab crunch, but realistically speaking, I can't really get a good use out of it. It's just kind of there. You can kind of see I move her forward and then she just automatically moves back because of the soft rubber-like material used for the clothing here. So that's not necessarily a great thing, but yeah. So we can get her in a whole bunch of poses, forward about that far, back about that far. Now for the hips, we do have ball jointed hips. So we can move her legs out that far, back about that far, split out about that far, which is good enough. And they also do have a little bit of a swivel there. Now, as you can kind of see, her boots also act as a cut point for a swivel, which is nice because we do have hinge knees, which also have a little bit of a swivel to them as well. And then a lot of people are looking at the feet and thinking, oh boy, no bueno. Well, good news. They're actually made of a little bit of a softer material, so they have a little bit of a give to them. So this way we can get her to use the not only ankle rocker movement, spoilers there, for where the joint plugs into the foot, and we do also have a hinge there, so this way we can move the foot just like so. But there's also a swivel there, so this way we can get full use out of an ankle rocker, and that is really impressive. Now we're going to take a look at the cape, and actually something just happened, or the mantle, if you will, and I'm going to teach you about something here real quick. Let me plug this back in. So they have 2 points of articulation, or several, actually. So there's going to be a Figma joint here, one where it plugs into the area which wraps around her neck, and then one that plugs into the actual sculpt down here, and then there's a hinge. So we can twist and turn and move it around in a whole bunch of different places. And then back here, we have this little peg that plugs through this piece of plastic, which secures this in place into the hole in her back where the Figma support stand would go. So whenever you use the Figma stand, which I'm going to show you a little bit in a second, you just remove this, plug the Figma stand in there, and you are as good as gravy. Oh, one more thing. Swivels. So yes, Lucina has plenty of articulation. Admittedly, some of the points, they're a little questionable, especially when we have the likes of Link and some of the different Samus Figmas, but you know what, at the end of the day, she can move just fine. All right, now time for accessories, and here is where Lucina is actually pretty lacking. We get one alternate faceplate, which they kind of mucked up on. We get one alternate head sculpt, so this way she can assume the role of Marth. We do have quite a few different extra hands, which are nice. We obviously have the Figma support stand, and then we have the sword with an alternate hilt piece, so this way it can be stuck in the scabbard. Yes, I know what kind of sword it is, just bear with me. We'll talk about it in a second. Now, for the hands, I'm not going to go through them one by one, but let me just say this. We do have left and right alternate hand parts, so this way she can hold the sword. We do have 2 different types of splayed hands, and then we get an extra hand, so this way she can hold the sword backwards or hold it while it is sheathed very nicely. Yep. So we do get some nice hand parts here, so this way you can recreate a whole bunch of different scenes. Now for that extra faceplate, Lucina normally comes with a faceplate where she's looking stern and straight ahead. This one is a playful, embarrassed look off to the side. Now, what is the issue with this faceplate? Well, if you take a look at the promotional pictures, it definitely looks like the cheeks are a bit rosier. Here, well, yeah, the red or pink paint application really doesn't seem like it was applied at all. It's very, very, very thin. Now for the alternate head sculpt, we get the somewhat butterfly mask here, and the hair is shorter. Now it does look nice overall. The gold trim on it is pretty slick, but mine, for whatever reason, has a couple of glue blobs here and there, and the front hair part almost looks like it's split in half, and the glue that was used to hold it in place is coming undone. So almost like there's a factory error there. Cool. So the way that you swap these head parts around is you're just going to have to pull one head off and put the other on. Now for the faceplates, you can either use the default or the embarrassed one, and you just slide it into the little marking thingamajig, whatever you want to call that, the peg, yeah, on the alternate head, and then you slide the front hair piece back on, and you are good to go. Now that about wraps it up, except for the sword, the parallel falchion, whatever you want to use to pronounce it. So we do get two different types. We get one that just slides into the sheath, no big deal, you saw that already, and the other one is going to be the full-on sword. Unlike the Twilight Princess Link or the reissued Skyward Sword, not the original, there is no portion on this one where you can pop off a part of it and just slide it into one of Lucina's alternate hand parts. You're just going to have to force it in, so do be careful. But overall, the paint application here, it looks very good. There is not one single blip or blob or any sort of damage here that would make me think this isn't made of very high quality material. So all in all, for accessories, Lucina is pretty light. We could have absolutely used one sort of non-playful expression here. Where's an angry faceplate? Where's a screaming faceplate? Gritted teeth faceplate? Yeah, something like that would have been really cool. Then maybe some sort of like critical hit effect part, or maybe a flame charge effect part. Yeah, it's Fire Emblem. Let's work with me here. Yeah. For the price tag, we definitely could have gotten something else in this set. Yeah. So if you're looking for some accessories, which I know you probably are, effect parts namely, you know I got a video to help you out. Now we're going to go ahead and round out the review with a size comparison, so this way you can see exactly how big she is, and she'll fit in just fine with either your Super Smash Bros. Display or any other 6-inch general display you're going to have, because, you know, sometimes folks just like their anime waifu. Oh, it's Awakening. Yeah. All right, so buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Running on the higher end of the price spectrum, Lucina is definitely going to be a hard sell to those who are only casual fans. If you're a real big fan of Fire Emblem or Super Smash Bros., however, this is going to be an easy purchase. She had one production run and one reissue, so if you are thinking about maybe getting her, I definitely see if you can get her for a good price sooner rather than later. Not necessarily the best figure on the market, but you know what? She should suffice. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now you've heard a lot from me, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for STR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs, like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand-selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand-selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.